There is a word spoken in Aramaic that Jesus used not to ask for wealth, but to command it. This word does not appear in any modern Bible translation, in any church doctrine, or in any mainstream theological teaching. The reason it was removed is not an accident, and it is not a matter of translation error. The Archons, the invisible forces that maintain control over human consciousness, identified this word as the single greatest threat to their financial harvest system. Every time a chosen one speaks this word with full understanding, a portal of material manifestation opens that the Archons cannot close. Tonight, for the first time in this format, the complete Aramaic wealth command is being restored to those who were always meant to carry it. If you are watching this, you were not brought here by accident. The difference between praying for wealth and commanding it most. People who have ever sought abundance through prayer have been taught a single posture: to ask. They were told to kneel, to request, to wait, and to trust that something external would respond to their need. This posture of asking is not wrong in itself, but it is incomplete, and the incompleteness is not accidental. What the original Aramaic teachings of Jesus reveal is that there are two entirely different energetic stances available to a human being in relationship to material reality. The first is the stance of petition, which places the individual below the thing being sought. The second is the stance of command, which places the individual as a co-creator with the same source that generates all material reality. Jesus never operated from the first stance when it came to material manifestation. Every miracle of multiplication, every act of provision, every moment in which physical matter responded to his presence was an act of command, not petition. The Aramaic language preserved this distinction with extraordinary precision, because the ancient Semitic mind understood that words were not merely symbolic. Words in Aramaic were understood to be frequencies, vibrations, that carried specific energetic signatures into the field of reality. When Jesus spoke over water, over bread, over the sick, over the dead, he was not asking a distant God to intervene. He was issuing a command from within the awareness of his own divine origin. The Archons understood this distinction better than any modern theologian. They knew that a human being who prays for wealth remains dependent, passive, and controllable. But a human being who commands wealth, using the original Aramaic frequency with conscious intention, steps outside the system. The Archons designed to manage human energy. This is precisely why the command was removed. Not by scribes making mistakes, but by forces that had every reason to ensure the command never reached the ears of those it was meant for. You are hearing it now, because the time for that concealment has passed. What was actually removed from Scripture, the process by which ancient sacred texts are modified, is rarely dramatic. It does not happen through bonfires or sudden erasure. It happens through translation choices, through the selection of one word over another, through the subtle flattening of a multi-dimensional concept into a single-dimensional substitute. When the Aramaic teachings of Jesus were first translated into Greek, and later into Latin, and eventually into the hundreds of modern language versions that exist today, a series of decisions were made that fundamentally changed the nature of what Jesus was teaching. One of the most consequential of these decisions involved the Aramaic concept of commanding the material world. In the original Aramaic, there existed a specific term used by Jesus and preserved only in the earliest Gnostic records, which carried the meaning of issuing a vibrational decree to the substance of reality itself. This term was not a prayer. It was not a petition. It was an act of sovereign consciousness directing material energy. When the translators encountered this term, they faced a choice. To translate it accurately would have been to suggest that human beings possess an inherent authority over material reality that they are not, subjects of a system but architects of it. This was unacceptable to the powers that oversaw the construction of religious orthodoxy, and so the term was replaced with the softer, safer, more controllable concept of prayer. Over centuries, the replacement became so complete that almost no one alive today knows the original term existed. Almost no one, but not quite. The Gnostic records preserved it. The Essene communities carried echoes of it, and now those chosen ones who feel the pull of ancient truth are recovering what was always theirs. Some of you watching this already feel that what is being described here is something you are ready to go deeper into. A complete and structured path exists for those who are prepared to work with these sacred Aramaic words, using the correct sound, the full layered meaning, and the complete protocol of use. That path is open. Check the pinned comment below. The door is already waiting for you there. The Aramaic word at the center of this teaching is Mammona, Kadisha, a term that does not appear in any modern translation of the Gospels, but that surfaces repeatedly in pre-canonical Gnostic manuscripts and in the Pistis, ancient Syriac Aramaic Bible that predates the Greek translations by several centuries. Mammona in Aramaic does not simply mean money or wealth in the flat, material sense that modern readers assume. The root of the word carries the meaning of the substance that flows from trust, from an inner alignment with the source of all provision. It is not gold. It is not currency. It is the energetic current of abundance that flows through all material reality when a conscious being commands it to move. Kadisha means holy, but in the Aramaic sense of the word, which is not about moral purity, but about being set apart, consecrated, and operating at a frequency above the ordinary. Together, Mammona Kadisha is a declaration that the abundance current is holy, that it is responsive to the one who speaks, and that it is commanded to flow by the authority of the one who carries divine awareness. Jesus used this command not as a spiritual abstraction, but as a practical frequency. Before acts of provision, before bread multiplied, before water became wine, before abundance appeared in the physical world, there is evidence in the earliest records that a spoken command preceded the manifestation. The Archons removed this command precisely because it works. It works not through wishful thinking, not through positive visualization in the passive sense, but through a vibrational decree that aligns the field of material reality with the sovereign intent of a chosen one. The frequency of the word matters. The awareness behind the word matters, and the understanding of what is actually being commanded matters more than anything else. Some of you watching this already feel that what is being described here is something you are ready to go deeper into. A complete and structured path exists for those who are prepared to work with these sacred Aramaic words, using the correct sound, the full layered meaning, and the complete protocol of use. That path is open. Check the pinned comments below. The door is already waiting for you there. Why the Archons replaced this command with passive prayer. To understand why the wealth command was removed, you have to understand what the Archons gain from passive prayer. When a human being kneels and asks an external god to provide wealth, several things happen simultaneously that serve the Archon system perfectly. First, the individual places themselves in a position of lack. They are defining themselves as someone who does not have, who needs, who must wait. This posture of lack generates a specific energetic frequency that the Archons harvest. It is sometimes called louche in modern esoteric language, the energetic output of longing, frustration, and unfulfilled desire. Second, passive prayer keeps the individual dependent on an intermediary, the church, the priest, the doctrine, the approved prayer format. All of these serve as gatekeepers between the individual and their own sovereign power. The Archons built this system with extraordinary precision. They understood that a population that prays passively for wealth will always produce more harvested energy than a population that commands wealth to move. The difference is not theological. It is energetic. The praying person waits. The commanding person acts. The waiting generates sustained energetic output that feeds the Archon system. The commanding generates a rupture in the Archon field, a moment of sovereign authority that the Archons cannot contain. This is why, throughout history, every time a teacher emerged who began to restore the original commanding posture, whether in Gnostic communities, Essene circles, or early mystical Christianity, those teachers and their writings were targeted for suppression. The Archons do not fear prayer. They designed prayer to serve their system. What they fear is the chosen one who remembers that they were never meant to ask. They were meant to command. The use of the Aramaic wealth command is not a ritual in the traditional sense. It does not require candles, or specific dates, or elaborate preparation. What it requires is a specific internal state, and that internal state is the most important element of everything being shared tonight. Before speaking the command, the chosen one must enter what the ancient Aramaic tradition called Mammona, a state of inner stillness that is not emptiness, but presence. It is the state in which Jesus was operating in every moment of recorded teaching. It is the awareness that knows itself to be an expression of the source, not separate from it. not below it, not asking it for permission. From this state of Damuna, the command is spoken aloud, Mammona Kadisha. The pronunciation carries specific frequencies that the written word can only approximate. The M sound at the beginning of Mammona is a low vibration that activates the physical body as a resonance chamber. The final A of Mammona opens the frequency into the field around you. Kadisha is spoken with emphasis on the second syllable, Qa, which carries the consecrating frequency that sets the command apart from ordinary speech. After speaking the command, the chosen one does not wait in longing. They return immediately to Damuna, the state of sovereign presence. The command has been issued. The field of material reality has received it. What follows is not waiting. It is knowing. Knowing that the frequency has entered the material field and that Mammona Kadisha is already in motion, the Archons have no access to the person who commands from this state. They can only harvest from those who remain in the posture of asking. Tonight, you command. What has been revealed tonight reaches back to a layer of Jesus' teaching that has been hidden for nearly 2,000 years. The distinction between praying for wealth and commanding it is not a minor theological nuance. It is the difference between a system the Archons built for human control and the sovereign birthright that was always meant to be yours. The Aramaic wealth command, Mammona Kadisha, was removed from Scripture precisely because it works. It bypasses the Archon harvest system. It activates a frequency in the field of material reality that responds to the sovereign authority of a chosen one who has remembered who they are. Tonight, before you sleep, enter Damuna. Find that place of inner stillness and presence. Speak Mammona Kadisha aloud, not as a prayer, not as a wheeze, but as a sovereign command, and then return to stillness, knowing that the field has heard you. What you have received tonight is not the end of this teaching. It is the beginning of a restoration. Everything shared in this video has been leading to this moment. A complete and structured path now exists for those ready to go further. The full teaching of the two sacred Aramaic words Ephatha and Ananyura, including their true power, correct sound, and complete protocol of use, that path is in the pinned comment below. Before you'll go, if this teaching moved something inside you, leave a comment with the Aramaic word that resonated most tonight. Let the chosen ones below see your command. Subscribe so the next revelation finds you, and leave your like. It tells the monad this knowledge is meant to spread.